Welcome back to the Name Redacted podcast, America's most beloved podcast, the most downloaded Red Sox podcast in the world. And we continue our Clark's Catch-Up Series MVP panel, our star-studded interview process that we've been going through. But before we get to Tom Caron, I just want to say, holy shit, thank you guys. Because yesterday, that we've been doing the show for 7-8 years now. That is the most, by far, Spotify wrapped, like, hey, like Name Redacted or Baseball is Dead is my top podcast of the year. Some people are, yeah, you know, casually just drop it. We listened to Name Redacted for 40,000 plus minutes this year. What is wrong with you people? But thank you. I was blown away by that. Made me feel good. How did you feel, Tyler?
Oh, I was emotional. I won't even lie. I was going on Twitter and you get, of course, I'm an emotional guy, but I was on Twitter and just the regular search, the For You page, things I weren't even tagged in, just you and Jake were like, oh, you know, fuck Milliken. We're just going to tag them and let them know we were listening. Those were popping up on my timeline. Yeah. I was like, holy shit. This is,
well, you're not very active on Instagram.
I need to get better.
You need to get better. You know what level you need to attain?
What?
That TC level.
All right.
That level of professionalism, that level of expertise, that level of charisma, that level of handsomeness. You're not going to be able to reach that. Hey, listen, there's some things, Tyler.
TC, I'm beautiful, aren't I?
Control.
Well, you're kind of a radio beautiful.
Oh,
yeah.
You know,
what, are you kidding me right now?
It's true. It's facts.
All right. You want to see how beautiful I am? You asked for that fit pic, Jared.
Mm-hmm.
It's on my Instagram story. Me in a suit. What I looked like at the wedding.
I saw it. I saw it. Martha posted the pictures from the wedding that you guys went to.
Did I look hot?
No. I'm just saying you did. It's fine. Like you did. You look presentable. That's the best I can do.
I tried really hard.
Okay. I just realized I don't follow you on Instagram. Tyler.
Don't. I mean, there's
You're not
nothing.
missing anything.
There's not a ton of action going on.
I feel like I'm going to go and it's going to be private. Like I'll have to ask for permission.
Well, if I post pictures, I know Jared's going to be the first one clowning me, so I try to.
No, I don't clown you. I try to make you better. I try to guide you, Jake.
You've got 2 pictures on Instagram.
What's wrong with 2 pictures?
Be better.
There's 2 posts.
Yeah.
I like to post important stuff.
Apparently, and nothing important is going on in your life at all?
No, not really. It's just socks.
There you go.
It's literally like a video of me announcing that I'm going to DraftKings. That's your first post.
Right. Also announcing that I was joining the pod.
Like, and then your second post is you and Martha. So I was going to say, like, when you said I only post important things, I was like, there better be a picture of you and Martha on there. And there is, but that's the only picture.
I haven't had many highlights the last couple of years. I'm working on building on those.
Okay. We need to work on that.
TC, maybe we can take a picture, me and you, and I can put it up as a third.
You'd have to get out of a studio at some point.
That's true.
To take a picture with someone.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be at Winter Weekend.
Oh, all right. We got plans now.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be there. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be there. I don't know.
What?
I don't know. No one. No one asked me to do anything this year.
Come to Winter Weekend, Jared.
Come to Winter Weekend, Jared.
All right, I'll be there.
You have officially been invited.
You didn't even respond to me. You just ignored me when TC said it. You're like, all right.
Yeah.
Come up on stage. We'll get booed. It'll be great.
Yeah, that
actually,
was
you and I did not get booed. Let the record show.
No, I actually very timely reference here. I don't know. You're not a wrestling fan, are you, TC?
No. I mean, no.
Are you aware that CM Punk just came back?
Yes.
Okay. So there's a pay-per-view in 2011, Money in the Bank. John Cena, you know who he is.
Yeah, I do.
Versus CM Punk. And they're in Chicago, which is CM Punk's hometown, which is where he just returned to. And when we were up on stage together, did a callback to a moment that happened in that match because the crowd is booing and saying, you suck and this and that. And CM Punk just stops and he looks at the crowd and he goes, me? And they go, no. And then he points to John Cena. He goes, him? And they're like, yeah. And he goes, oh, okay. So when we're up on stage and they're booing, like I'm looking at this dude in the crowd and I was like, me? And he's like, no, them. And I was like, oh, okay. This was, I was surprisingly comfortable up there for how hostile it was.
Yeah. Yeah, you were. So was I. It wasn't that surprising, was it? I mean, it's voicing your opinion of what has transpired in the past year, and none of it was good. So
No.
I will say it was more hostile than I expected. I expected booze. You were there. It was anger.
Yeah.
And a couple times, mid question, I'd bring up, and Chaim brought up the whole bets. He said bets like 9 times in that one answer. If you're going to make those bets, you got to make sure those bets are going to pay off.
You got to bet on yourself because if you're a betting man, then the bet's got to be right. Bet on that.
And they were just booing and booing. And so here's the thing. And I have not looked into this yet, but the press release did not mention a town hall.
Oh.
So I would assume there's a town hall. But if you read the press release they put out, a week or 2 ago about Winter Weekend, there was no specific mention of a town hall.
Interesting. I mean, they've done it every year.
Usually is. Yeah. And I feel that's usually mentioned in the press release.
Yeah. Interesting. So what would they do?
See. Well, they do the other thing. You could expand what they do. They do that player introduction thing, right?
Yeah.
Before the town hall. Usually it all starts. I'm up on stage. You introduce the entire team. They play some sort of reindeer game and then they clear off and we do a town hall. So you could do more of that. I don't know. And I reached out right away to some people and everybody said the same thing. Well, I assume there's a town hall, but nobody really knew for sure.
Yeah, I mean, behind the scenes for the last, basically since they started doing it in Springfield, a lot of the stuff that they do put on kind of comes together last minute. Like they're working on things. So like maybe there will be one, maybe there won't be. But that was a very unique experience in my career where we're sitting up there across from each other, basically, and you've got John. You've got Sam, you've got Chaim, and you've got AC. And to your point, I definitely expected fans to be unhappy. I expected to hear some boos, but it never let up. If you were to anticipate what the vibe is going to be like this time, what's the temperature? Because they still haven't done anything outside of firing Chaim is not enough. You know what I mean? Like they've got to do something.
Yeah. And that's it, right? If we moments earlier introduced Shohei Ohtani, then it's probably going to be a whole lot of kumbaya, right?
Yeah.
But if we're introducing the rotation in order and it begins with Brian Bayo and then goes Chris Sale and then goes Tanner Houck and then there might not be much change from last year. Nothing against those guys, but people want some action. People want change. Craig Breslow's a start, but what he does is going to dictate what happens at Winter Weekend as far as the crowd reaction goes.
Yeah. Are you nervous at all? Because I feel like when we talk about some of the offseason targets, I think fans don't realize half of them are already gone.
I know. I know.
Like a lot of these dudes where you target the top of the top, if you're going to have this monster offseason where you're spending a ton of money, it's Yamamoto and Ohtani and what else? Blake Snell, who's openly said, I want to pitch for the Mariners. Like, what else do you have left in terms of like a splash that you could make?
Well, Montgomery, right? And Tyler's going to take him to the 99 restaurant. 99, yeah. So that'll close the deal.
I promise you.
That'll get it done. But you can't get chicken broccoli ziti, right?
No,
is that
you can't.
Confirmed?
Not available. Mm-hmm.
Why is that?
It seems like it's an issue with the man trying to keep us down. I feel like the man knows that we would be too powerful if we had chicken broccoli and ziti from the 99 on a regular basis, which I totally understand. But it was the best chicken broccoli and ziti that I've ever had in my entire life. And now when I go back, like we're so far removed from it being on the menu that when I ask if they're going to put it on the menu, they look at me like I have 9 heads. They're like, we never even had that. I'm like, yes, you fucking did. And it was the best. And you had to be there. Like it's like talking about Woodstock to kids. Yeah. Like you just had to be there.
a long time ago, I don't even know if they still do these anymore, but when my kids were young and they were playing youth hockey, we used to always drive through Dunkin' Donuts on the way to a game, right? It's 7 a.m. and I'm pissed and we're driving, wherever to play hockey. And there were these bagel twists. They were like cheese bagel twists, all right? And they weren't bad. And my kid loved them. And they suddenly disappeared from the menu. And it was I don't know how old he was, 10, 11, whatever. He started a petition on change.org to bring back cheese bagels.
Did it work?
I really respect the activism. I'm not sure that that's where it needs to be directed, So maybe you need to do something like that.
But some of these businesses would see that and say, oh, there's 10,000 signatures here. There's a demand for this. We can make money off of this. Let's do it. So I don't know. Maybe I'll
fix.
I got to find other people that feel as strongly about it as I do, though. Like, I don't know that. Tyler, what do you say? You were like 9 years old when that was on the menu. Why are you looking at me like,
listen, as a 99 historian, I know when the wings and skins, the skins ended up being gone. And part of that was due to a factory issue that happened during COVID. But do you know how many people were reaching out and complaining? I was standing right there.
Yeah.
How about the chicken parm that they've changed in the last 12 months? That is now more expensive and smaller. That bothers me.
I agree.
I beg the 99 to hit me up.
Yeah.
I sense a third Instagram post coming.
Listen, it could be a partnership or it could be a hate post. It depends on how this is going to go.
You just never know. Well, on the subject of change, what is on Tom Caron's wish list? Not for Christmas. We don't have to get this done in time for the holidays, but this offseason, it's opening day. What would you like to have seen added on this team?
2 starting pitchers, preferably your number 1 and your number 2, right? It's become a cliche now, but I want Brayan Bello to be the number 3. And that means you went out and got 2 guys. Yamamoto and Montgomery would do it for me. Why wouldn't they? And I have no knowledge, honestly. I have absolutely zero inside knowledge to this, but I just have this gut feeling that it won't be that it'll be 1 free agent and 1 trade. I don't know why. I think Greg Breslow's got a surprise trade out of nowhere. And I don't even know that. I don't know why. That's how I feel. I feel it's going to be a trade for a pitcher that's going to surprise us. He's talked so much about identifying the minor league prospects that you can use as trade assets as opposed to the ones you're building around them. That just leads me to believe that's where he's thinking. And that way you don't have to break the bank that way. And then, a right-handed hitting second baseman to balance the lineup, somebody who can play defense. I am a Whit Merrifield guy. I know he's not who he was, but plays pretty good defense.
Tyler fucking
I know Milliken is.
Yeah,
oh, you do?
I'm not a hater. I'm not a hater.
Tyler hopes that
I
he
remember
breaks
you went
both
after.
of his legs.
I was at the GM meetings and I tweeted. I put something out on Twitter, and then a little while later, you were blasting the whole idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I can complain about things. I just think with Whit Merrifield, the reality is it's a below average bat. There's nothing wrong admitting that, but it's above average defense. It was a 94 OPS plus last year, 6% below league average. But if you're getting Jordan Montgomery and you have that guy Brayan Bello on your staff who needs to keep throwing those sinkers and keep the ball on the ground, Whit Merrifield and Trevor Story up the middle, that can make some sense for you. Where I start to question things is if you're going to get a bad defensive second baseman, you're in the same spot you've been in this entire time.
No, the second baseman's got to play D. It's got to be a short-term contract, so you get Meyer up here, and that's going to be your future middle infield with Story. However, they work that out between the 2 of them. But I need defense at second base. I need 2 starting pitchers at the top of the rotation and another depth starting pitcher. That can be the Garrett Richards, whoever it is, that Michael Wacha, whoever that version this year, fine, great. But that's your number 5, not your number 1 or your number 2. And then, and that means there's going to be a couple of pretty good pitchers who are going to be starting pitchers in Worcester. And I think that's what they need to do. I don't want to see everybody in the pen. I don't want to see your 6, 7, 8 guys in the pen. I'd like to see 1 or 2 of those guys starting every 5th day in Worcester so that when somebody goes down, and somebody will go down, more than 1 guy will go down. When that happens, you've got somebody stretched out, ready to give you some length and getting the call up. Alex has said that a couple times. AC has talked about that. Breslow kind of backed that up at the GM meetings. I think that's one thing they didn't really have last year is that, depth guy ready to go, pitching as a starting pitcher in the rotation down in AAA. They need to build that back up.
You don't smoke cigarettes, do you, TC?
No, but I'm gravelly today. We had the tradition last night, the event at the Garden.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of a little deep today.
Well, that's not why I'm asking. It's because 2 back-to-back last place seasons, and you know that me, Tyler, Jake, we're diehard. So we watch the post game, even in a last place season. Like, I know that people will watch pre and post, when things are going well. We watch pre and post no matter what. And because I do this show, we do this show once a week in the offseason. We do it after every series finale, as you know, as a Clark's Ketchup Series MVP voter. But I will sit there on some nights and just be like, how is TC just not ripping a heater right now? Like like we are it's September 6th. The Red Sox have no shot of making the playoffs.
3-hour rain delay.
Yeah. 2.
And we had rain. 14
every
games
weekend.
had rain delays this year.
Every weekend. It rained every weekend. And you now have to break down this 13-6 loss to the Kansas City Royals when you have, I don't know, 2/3 of your lineup aren't even the intended starters at the beginning of the year. And I'm just like, God bless this man for being able to sit there and break down the X's and O's of this baseball game for an hour. How do you do it?
It's awful. Years ago, and 2000, let's say 10, I remember Eckersley looking at me once when he was still doing studio, and he looks over at me once, and the Sox are crushing. I think it was Kansas City, and he looks over and he goes, "Thank God we're not doing this in Kansas City." Can you imagine doing all those miserable seasons? And then it was 2015. I still think he was in studio at that point. He looks over at me and he says, we're doing Kansas City. I mean, that's what it's come to. We're the third last place finish in 4 years. Mm-hmm. It's, that said, there's that whole talk radio thing, right? Losing gets people fired up. So there is something about a post-game show. Pre-game shows can be tough. When they're really bad, it's, all right, we got a big game coming up in an hour. You've never heard of the guy starting tonight for the Red Sox, but you'll enjoy this game. So the buildup can be tough. Post game, there's usually enough to dive into. Even if it's bad. We don't sugarcoat it a ton. Yeah. Certainly, it goes by the analysts, right? We had Papelbon this year, and despite what everybody thought, he didn't get pulled off the air. He came back for another series at the end. But he's great. I mean, we've had, Eckersley used to rip him. We've got guys who will go at him. They do it differently. But post-game shows, I'm like you guys, where I'm so fired up about something that happens in a game. A pitcher gets lifted in too long or a reliever gives it up or an error, whatever happens in a loss.
The Bear Claw game.
We were so fired up about that.
that was a can't miss post game. People were just like, what the fuck was that? Why did this happen? Who allowed this to happen? Who has an explanation for this happening? That was can't miss.
Even that was one of those rare things, like the game itself. We're at Fenway and watching, we got the big TV on one side and you're looking out live and you're looking back at the TV. And when I couldn't see it, or I wasn't looking at it from where we were into the bullpen. And all of a sudden they just cut to a bullpen with nobody up, warming up. Yeah. And our entire studio as one yelled, "What the fuck?" I don't like to swear, but that is what we said. Okay? Yeah. And I mean, I swear to God, 6 people said it in unison. Yeah. And that was one of those, like, you just start writing. I probably had half a legal pad of notes written in that half inning about things I wanted to say and get to in the postgame show. And I think we actually went long in that postgame. We just kept going. It's crazy.
Do you think that that night was the beginning of the end?
Yeah. Yeah. Because you just realized at that point that there was just no depth. We forget about it, but the Matt Dermody start didn't help anybody. You know why? I mean, as somebody I know who was an executive with another team said, like, he's got so much baggage, but by the way, he can't pitch.
Right.
Like it was like what, you know, you need somebody. There's got to be somebody else who won't create such a ruckus.
Right.
And you know, I felt like that was a turning point too. I really do. I felt like whatever sort of doubling down on this guy with everything that was coming out about him, you just didn't need to do it. And they did it. And you know, a couple of things like that. That was the point. But it was, you know, the Bear Claw game was the point where I said, it's going to happen. You know, they're going to make a change. And then Euclid brings one of those like Bear Claw pastries in the next day. And he's just leaving them all over the place, which is pretty funny.
Man, that it's because you've been through not a lot, but enough bad seasons.
Yeah.
Was 12 the worst for you?
Well, excluding 20. 20 was the worst.
Yeah.
I mean, the COVID year, you always forget about it, right? I mean, it was statistically the worst pitching staff in the history of the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're not even there, right? I'm watching it alone. They had us, you know, they had Jim Rice like 100 feet away from me in another room. And we're FaceTiming each other to talk about the game while we're watching it on separate monitors. And, you know, OB and Jerry and Eck are doing the game down the hall. It's just so surreal. But it was awful baseball. I mean, just awful baseball. But 12 was really bad because, you know, 11 had been such a wild year. And even though that was the chicken and beer and the whole 7-20 in September. If you remember, the thing I always remember about that year was the Labor Day weekend, the hurricane was coming. And that's when they preemptively banged the Sunday game and played a doubleheader on Saturday, which the only time I've ever seen that. They said the hurricane's coming. We're going to play 2 on Saturday. There were like 7 rain delays that day. Mm-hmm. And they got them both in and they won both. They swept the doubleheader. And then they never won back-to-back games again. Like that was the sort of, and that was the whole thing, right? Where the players were upset and they gave them a ride on the yacht and they gave them all the Dr. Dre Beats headphones. Yep. And it just completely fell apart after that. So, you know, but that was like, there was drama there, right? I mean, that was a year that even though they didn't make the playoffs, losing after the final game, right? That was the Andino walk-off in Baltimore after the rain delay, and then Longoria wins it for the Rays while we're on the air, while we're post-game show. That's it. Season's over. And, you know, then the next year you come back with Bobby Valentine. And you know, it was the first year at JetBlue Park. So it was a new preseason home, new spring training home. And there was just so much weirdness that year. And it got so bad so quick. I remember the whole rock bottom thing. Right, like he said early on, like, well, we've hit rock bottom, and actually, it was Tim Wakefield, who it's a classic Wake story because, you know, the thing we loved about Wake so much was that he really did just bleed Red Sox.
Yeah, you
know, like, and he didn't want to say anything negative, and you had to sort of push him a little bit, you know, and I don't know if it was that post-game show or a week later, we're talking about the whole rock bottom thing. And that was Wake's first year with us. And he says, you know, on the air, he goes, I don't know. I think, you know, I guess the thing about rock bottom is they're only going to go up from here, right? Things are going to get better. And we get off the air and I was like, you really feel that way? He's like, no, I don't think they've hit rock bottom yet. And sure enough, we had 4 more months of continued descent into hell.
Yeah,
we did a show that year, the Bobby Valentine show, where I had to sit with him for a half hour once a month and do a show. It's called the Bobby Valentine show. And it was like interviewing the pilot during the plane crash. Like literally, like, you know, you're watching the ground come at you. So what were you thinking when you banked left? Right. It was just awful. It was awful. And he had no idea. And listen, I really like Bobby. He's a good guy.
Yeah,
makes a great sandwich, but just not the guy for the team at the moment. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I don't remember the Bobby Valentine show.
It was only once a month, so there were like 6 of them, and he was great because he's funny, he was entertaining, but man, it was all falling apart around him.
Do you think he knew that he was going to be one and done?
By the end of the year, he did. And I assume, listen, the guy, he didn't bring in any of his own coaches. And, it was not a great situation. Ben Cherington didn't want him. Larry Lucchino did. There was this whole weird sort of palace intrigue going on around it, right? And it was the first time, the owners were so used to Terry Francona and Theo Epstein and the stability of all that. And you had all of this going on. I remember him at one point because he hadn't managed in a while. He'd been in Japan and then he'd been on ESPN. And, at one point he's like, these guys won't answer my call. I got to text them. I'm like, my kids don't answer my call. You got to text them. That's, right. It was like just this weird thing of him coming back at a time when the team was a mess. It was ugly. It
was awful. It is by far the worst year of my
I'll tell you one thing real quick about that, which is funny. You talk about pregame, postgame. That was the only year we'd ever had, and we thought it was hysterical. The pregame show in 2012, the ratings were up from the previous year. The game was down like half, and the postgame was down like 2/3. But every night, people want to see what the hell did Bobby Valentine do today? Right. And we actually had increased viewers for the pregame show every night. It's crazy.
After Bobby Valentine on EEI threatening to punch someone in the face, like
Glenn Ordway.
Imagine that today. Yeah, Glenn Ordway. Imagine today a manager doing anything, even making a slight threat. It'd be the craziest thing. No one could imagine it.
The best moment, right, was he called out Euclid on the Sunday night Channel 7 show when he did a weekly thing there. And the next day was Patriots Day. And you guys have been there. There's nothing worse than arriving at the ballpark on Patriots Day. Yeah, it's at 9 a.m. Players are cranky. They're not 9 a.m. guys. Nobody's a 9 a.m. guy, right? Not in this world. And we're all in the locker room. Nothing's happening. It's guys are showing up, last minute for the start. And Pedroia calls us all over to his locker. Yeah, I want to talk. Dustin never does that. Like, hey, media, come here. We all gather around. And, he's like, yeah, I just want to say, that Bobby Valentine calling out Kevin Euclid, maybe that's how you do it in Japan, but that's not how we do it here. Like, all right, this is April 17th, whatever the date is. We're 2 weeks into the season and you've got a full-blown mutiny going on.
Yes. Yeah, that was
it was awesome. From a guy covering it was awesome.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There were a bunch of stories about guys not liking Bobby Valentine and stuff that was going on inside the clubhouse. And yeah, it was a very ugly year, very not fun year. But you mentioned,
but to your point, by the end of that year, it's the worst, right? You know what I mean? The beginning, that's April, right? You go, we got news. Let's go. And now you're in August, and there were a couple stretches they lost like 11 out of 13 games, or whatever, and you're just, this is miserable.
There was like the Lackey thing. Yeah, like someone like texted his phone or something, like asking for information about his wife who was sick.
Yeah,
or like they were getting divorced.
Yeah, that was really bad, and that
you don't have to name names. Do you know who texted his phone?
I've got an idea, but I don't know for sure.
Okay.
I don't know for sure. That's the thing. From that era, like, people don't understand now. If you go back to that era, like who dropped the dime on the chicken and beer?
Yeah.
Who led to the Bob Holler story about Terry Francona? Like, there were all these, this was back when sources and leaks and those things were leading to real damage.
Right.
And there was a lot of that in that stretch, that 11, 12, it all changed in 13, obviously, for a year. But 10, 11, 12 was a weird time.
Very weird. Very weird. Yeah. The ending of the Terry Francona era. And I talk about this pretty often on here, but I think we didn't realize at the time, I think we were all focused on the collapse. But that night in Baltimore, that was the last night of Jason Varitek, the last night of Jonathan Papelbon, the last night of Tim Wakefield, the last night of Terry Francona. It was a complete
Theo Epstein.
Yes.
Right?
Like in a split second, an entire era of Red Sox baseball came to an end. Like,
yeah, the greatest era we'd known.
Yes.
Right? I mean, the 10 years of incredible baseball and stability and 2 championships and all that.
And pillar players and executives, coaches. Like you say Terry Francona, it's like, yeah, that's the dude that broke the curse. You say Theo Epstein, you say that's the dude that broke the curse. You say Jason Varitek, you say that was the captain of those teams. Tim Wakefield was the heartbeat of those teams. Jonathan Papelbon was the closer for one of those teams. So it's, yeah, that was a wild night. I was there. It was awful. It was by far one of the worst nights of my entire life. But yeah, like that was an abrupt and unpleasant end of an era that night.
You know, and it was just the way it went down, right? The rain delay on that last game, which is when Tampa Bay came back and tied the Yankees. I think it was like a 6-run lead they had, or
7-0.
7-0, 7-run lead. And we kept we're doing the rain delay, and we keep showing shots of the ballpark, whatever they feed us. And there was the shot of David Ortiz sitting in the Red Sox dugout, kind of looking up, like with his mouth open.
Yeah.
And we finally figured it out. I talked to him later that in the clubhouse, there were some TVs and they had, MLB Network on, and they kept going to that game. And he was sick of watching the Rays coming back. So he just went out to sit in the dugout, and it was up on the huge scoreboard in center field. So he's just looking up at it like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then, the walk-off, and they come to us, and I was about to go to commercial in the postgame show and we're watching. There's a TV. We can't show the Rays game because we don't have the rights, right? So we can't show that live. And so we've got a monitor in the studio facing us. It's me and Jim Rice. And we're watching it. And I'm just about to go to break. They're like, go to break, we'll come back and regroup. Because at this point, you're just waiting to see what happens in that game, to see if we have a 163rd game the next day. And I was like, well, we will. And he hits the home run. As I'm saying, we'll be back after this. It's like, we will keep it here. The season just ended.
Yes,
and we went, and we were then on for an hour and a half before we took a break.
Yeah.
Which was crazy. That's when Jim Rice said it's a spa. I said, what? That's what he called the Red Sox clubhouse, a spa.
Yeah.
And he's like, these guys got to toughen up. It was great.
There was, so during the rain delay, they made everyone leave their seats because there was lightning. So everyone was underneath, and we were kind of tucked away in this bar. And so I'm in a bar with a bunch of Orioles fans, and I don't know who was pitching, but Dan Johnson was at the plate, and I think he had 2 strikes on him. So I'm videoing the TV to get the final out. And I'm hitting record. I'm watching this recording, and then he hits his ball, and then it keeps going, and it looked like it could have been foul. And then you just, at the end of the video, you just hear me go, "Oh fuck!" And it's like, so like no one in the bar realized that it was a fair ball at the time.
Right.
But I was like, "Oh fuck, that's fair." And then I ended the video, and I still have that video somewhere. I will have to find that and send it to Jake. But
all right, well, I'll give you one. All right, this is my version of that because I'm a lot older than all of you combined. And in 1986, I had just gotten out of college, and I was working at an NBC affiliate in upstate New York, and the Red Sox World Series, right? The Mets Sox '86 World Series was on NBC, and I was the Saturday anchor. So I was going on right after the end of the game. And it's game 6. It's Saturday night, the Bill Buckner game. Oh. During that top half of the inning, there's 3 different times the Red Sox were 1 strike away from winning the World Series. And literally, we're talking about a rotary phone. And so I'm dialing my parents in Maine just so I can go, woo, and hang up and run out to the studio, right?
Yeah.
3 times I've got, I don't know how many digits, what are there, 10 digits in the thing? Yeah, I've got 9
back then
numbers
you probably only needed
dialed.
7.
That was Maine. There's probably 2, it's like 1. My parents' number was 18. But so you dial all the numbers, and I'm waiting to do the last one right as they win. And then it's like, 3 different times.
Yeah.
And then I almost got fired. That was like 3 months into my career because I came out on the air. They had me right at the top of the broadcast. And we're in upstate New York. right? And they're like, a big win for the Mets. And I'm like, Tom Yawkey is rolling in his grave. And I'm losing it because I'm a Red Sox fan. And I get off, and sports was like 10 minutes away when I was going back out. And there's a call. My news director's on the line. He goes, get your shit together or you're done. I mean, you can't go out screaming like a fan as a lunatic. And I was like, all right.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. That's at least that's an extreme enough example to lose your job. Tyler almost lost his job because the Red Sox traded for Craig Kimbrell.
I did lose my job.
He did lose his job.
They fired me from Jordan's Furniture the day Craig Kimbrell got traded to the Red Sox. I was so excited. I was so happy. I'm sitting there on my phone. I'm tweeting like this is back in the day. I just had to get everything out. I was like, oh, Craig Kimbrell, one of the best closers in all of baseball. Dave Dombrowski cooking. They watched me on the cameras, just staring at me, losing my mind, not paying attention to a single employee. And after that, they told me to leave, and I had to sit out front for 2 hours until my buddy got out and he drove me home.
Oh, did you get free furniture at least? Like,
no.
Was that a year where that wasn't a year they gave away free furniture?
I was actually a day short. They were bringing Elliott was bringing his World Series rings in, so I didn't even get to see the World Series rings.
Damn, that's a tough break. But hey, I appreciate the dedication on both of your behalfs. TC, as a Red Sox fan,
yes,
as someone who cares. What's the most fun that you've had? Which is a different question than like Tyler is obsessed with the 2007 World Series. He puts it as his number one. He's an idiot. It's not like when we were.
No, wait, hang on. Time out.
TC?
Time out.
Yep.
That's like picking your middle child as your favorite.
Right. I mean, awful thing to say.
Right. No, are you a middle child?
I thought you were about to take his side.
Well, sorry.
All I'm saying
I only have two, so I can say that. I mean, no, but there, and I've talked, for some reason, I've had multiple conversations with Terry Francona about this. And he actually loves the 07 team just because it was drama free. It was homegrown. It was just a good team, right? Start to finish. But it's the most overlooked championship team in Boston sports history.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely the only correct power rankings of Red Sox championships of this millennium. You can play around with the top three however you want, but that has to be four.
Has to be four.
Your first child is always your favorite. The 2007 Red Sox were my first child.
You were alive for 04.
You were alive in 04.
I didn't have a brain. Young. I was 6. No. I had no brain. I couldn't tell you what happened. I woke up one day in second grade. And when I was in second grade, the following year, I got to enjoy the 2007 World Series. I got to watch David Ortiz and Manny Ramirez, the guys who did it in the 04
team too.
I heard you, but I also got to see Jacoby Ellsbury and Dustin Pedroia, Clay Buchholz throw a no-hitter,
grand slam.
Yes, Alfonso Carmona.
Please.
Come on, that didn't make you feel something?
Absolutely,
it did.
And there are 40 World Series moments that made me feel more from the Red Sox over the last 20 years.
Yeah,
if they win in 08, we look at those 2 years very differently. Very differently.
Sure. No, I'll give you that. You win in 08, then you're talking about back-to-back and all that. But they didn't. So 07 gets pushed to fourth.
It sure does.
So the question was...
Not your... Like, I'm not asking you to power rank and like, what's the number one World Series for you? I'm asking you, what year did you have the most fun? Because for me, like, obviously, if you were to ask me to power rank the championships, I'm putting 04 first. But I had the most fun in 2018. What year for you between the experience watching the team and then what you were also doing career-wise professionally, combine those two factors? What year did you have the most fun?
Are we talking about the 4 championship teams or any year?
Any year.
See, and this is my, what 07 is to Milliken, 03 is to me. 03, I was still sideline reporter, which is a whole different thing, right? People forget that I was the first sideline reporter at NESN, don't forget, before they decided to go in a different direction with their sideline. It was 03 was just, they were nuts. I mean, and so was 04, right? But 03, the Cowboy Up, was on the plane. The playoff run, the end of the regular season into the ALCS and through the 7 games with the Yankees. Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, it was a horrible ending, and that was not fun. Okay, it didn't end fun. But the ride, I'll just never forget it. And Millar was here and Johnny Damon, and these guys were sort of changing the culture of the Red Sox before our eyes. And a lot of times you look back, you guys have even done this long enough now that you look back on things and say, okay, that was the moment where things changed. But 9 out of 10 times you didn't see it in real time, right? You look back and say, this was the beginning of that era. 2003, you could actually see. I remember Johnny Damon telling me in the middle of the season, like he went out to Lansdowne Street, and I don't remember who the players were, I really don't. And there were a couple guys in line to get into a club. And Johnny Damon like walked up to them and said, "What the hell are you doing?" And they're like, "Oh, we're waiting for the club." "You're the Boston Red Sox. You don't wait in line to get out." And he like grabbed them by the scruff of their neck and dragged them to the front of the line and told the bouncer, who he didn't know, he's like, "Listen, I'm Johnny Damon. These are my teammates. We're going in." They're like, "Yeah, all right, you're going." But that was like the Red Sox didn't cut the line.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, 2003, here's Millar, who's just this whack job, right? Who was on his way to Japan when Theo pulled the strings and kept him here. And he's this amazing guy as far as bringing cliques of a clubhouse together. He speaks Spanish. He gets the Latin players to intermingle with the English-speaking guys more. And here's Johnny Damon, who's just this rock star in the making, right? And he just, brings all the... And so these guys just really changed everything that year. And the little stretch, to answer your question, the most fun was the regular season ended. They played their last game at Fenway with 3 games to go. And they clinched in the last home game of the season. And that was, for those of you, were you there? Mm-hmm. Were you at the baseball tavern after? You weren't old enough to go to the baseball tavern.
I wasn't old enough, no.
Yeah. Well, so that was when, the guys in spikes walked across to the baseball tavern and continued the celebration. And we're literally waiting to fly to Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And I'm in a champagne-drenched suit, which was too stupid to bring a change of clothes. And I got a 3-hour flight. It's going to be, yeah. And these guys are just going. And I remember Remy looking at me at one point. He's like, "Can you imagine if they'd have won the division? This is for the freaking wild card."
Yeah.
We wouldn't go to Tampa till tomorrow.
Right.
And so it was this huge celebration because they hadn't been in a while. And we go to Tampa Bay for 3 meaningless games. And that was a riot. And then we go to Oakland. They lose the first 2 games. Right, in like an 18-hour span. It was a night game and a day game, and we're down 2-0 in a best-of-5 series. Fly across the country. That's when Millar starts shaving everybody's head, and it's cowboy up and all this. And they win Game 3 at Fenway. That was the crazy, they had Lilly on their backs for Ted Lilly.
Yeah.
Merloni and someone else had the tape that spelt Lilly.
Yeah.
And was it Eric Burns didn't tag home plate?
Correct.
And Tech went over and tagged him, which would have been the game, shoved him. And then there was was it Tejada, the weird play where he thought they were calling him to advance to home on the interference, but they were just telling him he was safe at third and they tagged him out. So there's all these weird plays. And they win that game. And then the next day, they win. It was Ortiz against Falk, I think in the 8th inning, the comeback. They had to come back, and they win that game on a Sunday. And then we get on the plane.
Which one was the Nixon walk-off? Was that game 3 or 4?
That was game 3. That was the end of that wild game. That's why any one of those two runs, either one of those runs would have won it. If Burns touches home plate or if Tejada isn't out.
That was the one that Manny, this was before you had a railing at Fenway. So Manny was sitting on the top step, Trot Nixon's up, and he's just like pointing to center field, like, "Hit a home run. Like, if you just hit a home run, then we'll win the game. So just hit a home run." And then Nixon hits a home run. He's like, "See, I told you."
Yeah, I'm not sure if any of you guys thought of this, but if you hit a home run right now, we can win the game.
Yeah.
And then they win Sunday to force game 5 of a 5-game series. And this is the craziest schedule. There was no day off. We flew Sunday night. It was a day game at Fenway, and it was a 5 o'clock start in Oakland the next day. And that I go forever. There was a whole thing where the A's plane got delayed leaving Logan. And there was one of these like a co-pilot is off the clock and we have to wait for a new co-pilot. And so we got to Oakland like 2 hours before the A's got to Oakland. And then we played game 5 that night. I remember having a conversation. My kid was 7 at that point. And I'm talking to him on the field in Oakland. And he's like, well, Dad, when are you going to be home? And I was like, well, if the Sox lose, I'll be home when you wake up. If the Sox win, I'll be home next Friday after game 2 in New York. And he's like, trying to process. What does that mean?
Yeah.
And they win. And that was the Derek Lowe, kind of the, you're the wrestler. Who's the move?
That's
you did the crotch move.
Triple H, HBK.
Triple H. Yeah, Triple H at the time, though. Triple H was the big thing at the time. But he does the boom, and they win, and we go to New York, and they lose the series, and it all got ugly at the end. But even game 1, I remember Tim Wakefield pitched game 1, and it was a gem. Yeah. And we were, I was so fried. Like, I'm still one jet lag wave behind. Like we were, Boston to Tampa to Oakland to Boston to Oakland to New York in 7 days. And for them to, I always say that performance Tim Wakefield put in game 1, because the team was spent. They had nothing. But he just handcuffed the Yankees like he had done, through most of his career. So that little stretch, like that 2-week stretch, I up through it, including game 6 of the ALCS. It ends there. The fun ends there. And then the year after, I'm in studio for 04, but 03 was a hell of a ride.
Yeah, so in Terry Francona's book, he says that the 2008 team was the best team that he ever managed in Boston. Obviously, 03 was Grady Little. Those two teams, 08 or 03, which one do you think is better? Which one do you think was more deserving of winning a championship?
Ooh, that is a great question. I think the 08 team. I do. I thought, I get foggy on the details. I got to go back and look through 08 again sometime, the playoffs. But they had that one crazy comeback game in the middle of that series.
They were losing 7-0 in the 7th inning in game 5 of the ALCS against Tampa.
It was game 5. That's the one.
Yep,
yeah, it was. That's as crazy as it gets. I remember Eckersley was doing TBS Postgame Show at the time when they were broadcasting the game, and he's texting me in the middle of that game. Just what the hell is this team doing?
Yeah,
like you thought they were done.
Yeah,
that 08 team was really good. It really was.
Better than 07, would you say?
David Price shoved.
Yeah, he did.
Coming out of the pen.
I
don't see. I disagree that they're better than 07. I know. I'd love to kick Milliken while he's down, but I think the 07 team. You win, you're better. You are.
But my counterpoint to that, and I've said this a billion times, if Mike Lowell and Josh Beckett are healthy, the 08 team goes untouched to a World Series title.
100%.
They would have steamrolled. Like the fact that they did as much as they did without having those two guys. Like Mike Lowell was the World Series MVP. Josh Beckett was the ALCS MVP. Should have won the Cy Young the year before. I believe the year before was the year that Mike Lowell set the Red Sox record for most runs driven in by a Red Sox third baseman. Like those two dudes were 1 year removed from greatness, and they were hurt. And if you have them too, even at 70%, like that team, I think what the Phillies ended up winning that World Series, and who is their closer? Lidge. He was perfect that year, even through the playoffs. Like, it's like, all right, like I respect the Phillies a little bit, but that Red Sox team was just that much better. Like
John Lester coming into his own.
Right.
Yeah. That was a massive part of that year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Last night, I had this long conversation about Lester last night. It was with Taylor Twellman, the soccer player, and he's a St. Louis guy, and he's become real good friends with Lester. And we were just talking, Lester's one of those guys who was so good and so quiet and so lacking drama that you almost forget about him. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, you got to think about John Lester to remember him. And of course you do. But there's so many guys who end up, even the guys who are coasting along here usually end up with some drama at some point. Right?
Yeah. He was in the mix on the chicken and beer thing.
100%. Sure. Yeah. But even then, he was the quiet guy.
Yeah, you didn't. He wasn't one of the ringleaders. He was a patsy.
Beckett, lackey, all got pegged with it.
Yeah, I mean,
Josh Beckett. The reason we installed a 7-second delay in our post-game interview room.
Yes. Yep.
Because he would do it. He was sneaky. Like you'd always be ready for guys who had a bad day or a pitch who had a bad start to swear. Mm-hmm. And he never would. When he had a bad day, he owned it. Mm-hmm. He went out there and was calm. And, it's when he had a good day that he'd rip some reporter, just in the, I already swore once. I don't want to keep dropping F-bombs.
I don't get paid to make those fucking decisions.
Yeah. The best one. No. The best one was he had pitched a great game and somebody asked him something and it was a stupid question. Yeah. I don't remember what the question was. But his answer was, "Look at you, Captain Fucking Obvious." Wait, what? Like, nobody's ready for that.
He was great.
The guy just went 7 innings, gave up 1 run, whatever it was, and you're not expecting that.
No, he was can't miss for post games. Like I remember tuning in, being like, "Oh, Beckett's about to go off." Very authentic. Unapologetically himself, I will say, about Josh Beckett.
Yeah, and if you asked him, he's one of the guys I loved interviewing because if you were ready and you asked him questions that made sense and were like probing into what he does, he could open up a little bit. I mean, again, not Belichick now, but a little bit like Belichick 10 years ago. Talk to guys in the room. For everybody who says he's miserable, if you actually are prepared, you could get great stuff out of Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Just you won't get any news, but you can get some, some thoughtful, stuff about his career and his philosophy.
Yeah.
But those guys, the greatest post-game clip we ever went to was Papelbon once. He blew a save and Eckersley and I are there in the studio. And I don't even remember but he's saying something. Somebody asked him about, you've blown whatever, a couple saves this week, whatever. And he's like, yeah, I don't worry about that stuff. I let Tom Caron and Dennis Eckersley worry about that stuff. That seems to be all they care about. And when those things are playing, you're kind of like your hands are back. You're thinking about where you're going to go for a beer after the show. Wait a minute. Why are you bringing us into this?
Right.
And then, of course, Eck goes off. Eck goes off on him after that, right?
Yeah, but he's got to expect that. And so I was going to bring this up later, but since you mentioned Papelbon, it's kind of, there's 2 different avenues I could go here. The Jonathan Papelbon, Jim Rice combo is magic that I didn't think anyone anticipated we were going to get from that combination. How did that come to be? Was it just like one rain delay? You figured it out?
Yeah, well, we kind of knew whatever year it was. I don't think it was 20. I don't think it was the full blown pandemic year. I think it was 21. We started having some guys zoom in, right? Because we were still doing a lot of stuff out of the studio, and we'd have Papelbon zoom in. That's when Uke started. Uke started zooming in. Mo Vaughn did some stuff, which was cool, and it didn't come out on the air a ton. But when we do that, you gotta work out the audio and make sure everybody can hear everybody and you do that in the commercial break, right? Mm-hmm. And he and Rice would get each other going and be howling during the commercial break. And so we're like, wait a minute, there's something here. And so he came in studio this year and we didn't have the 2 of them together at the beginning much. And I kept asking for it. I was like, you got to get them together. Mm-hmm. And then they did. And I think, and then we hit a rain delay. It was one rain delay, whenever it was, one of many. And they just, I was like in the middle of it. At one point, I was like, all right, we're going to go to commercial because I want to keep my job. And we'll be back after this, And I don't know if you remember last year, the really funny moment was the end of last year. Papelbon wasn't on the show, but he was at the ballpark. And all right, backing it up now. In 2021, Papelbon came in studio for like a 3-game stretch in the playoffs. It was the first time he'd come in studio. And so while he was there, the Red Sox then said, hey, you're in town. You want to throw out the first pitch? So he came and threw out the first pitch at one of the games. So on the air, he and Rice bet $100. Papelbon said, I can hit 90 on the gun when I throw out the first pitch. And it's like, there's no way. No. And so they bet $100. So sure enough, he goes out. If you remember, I think it was 85, whatever he said he was going to hit. Yeah. And he hit it. He and we found out later they did totally goose the clock.
Yeah.
But he threw it and it got up there and Rice like, oh crap. So fast forward, that was a year early. Yeah. It was the final home game of 2 seasons ago, 22. And before the game, Pam Ken from the Sox was walking by and she says, hey, did you guys see Papelbon? He's around today. We didn't know he was there. And out of nowhere, Rice is like, Pam, do they have, where do they keep the cash from the concessions? She's like, what? He goes, if I give you $100 bill, can you get me 100 ones?
Oh,
and she's like, all right, yeah, whatever. So she comes by a little later and gives him 100 ones. Papelbon comes by during the rain delay that night because we're in the rain delay. He comes by. We're like, come on. Jim in the middle of it's like, oh yeah, I owe you $100. And he does the Make It Rain live on the air. And Papelbon is grabbing handfuls of ones and throwing them up. And I'm just, and it starts going to where it goes when you start talking about making it rain with ones. And I'm like, all right, we're going to go to commercial right now.
Yeah.
Pap, great to see you. Bye. And so that kind of carried over into this year.
Yeah. The number of careers that you're responsible for saving for these first time player turned broadcasters has to be approaching double digits at this point.
I used to do the Bruins way back, and it was even the same with them. These guys are, especially the guys who are doing it for the first time, they're so passionate, you know what I mean? That they get fired up sometimes. You got to put a hand on their knee, easy.
We're on live TV.
And it's live. We don't have a 7-second delay.
You can't take this back once it leaves your mouth.
We interrupt this interview with TC to bring you a quick word from our sponsor. Baseball may be finished, but there's a new season to be happy about, the holidays. And the beer that was perfect for baseball is also the perfect match for a brighter holiday. From its bold, refreshing flavor to its beautiful, bright color, Blue Moon Belgian White Belgian-style wheat ale is made brighter for the holidays. And I'll be enjoying plenty of Blue Moons after this podcast because once again, Tyler's bringing up 2007. I mean, enough already, dude. How many Clark's Ketchup Series MVP panel voters do we have to get on the podcast to tell you're an idiot for liking 2007 first before you just shut the fuck up about it? Apparently a lot because you're still going and I'm still drinking Blue Moon, so I guess we'll just keep doing this until you figure it out. Blue Moon Brewing Company beers are made brighter as the perfect complement to the holiday season. From Blue Moon Belgian White's refreshing flavor to Light Sky's real tangerine peel taste, to Moon Haze's juicy burst of flavor, the whole crowd will be reaching for the bright stuff this holiday. With its refreshing flavor with Valencia orange peel for a subtle sweetness and hints of coriander, Blue Moon Belgian White Belgian-style wheat ale is a beer that's made brighter. It's carefully crafted and full-flavored with refreshing notes and a smooth, creamy finish. The season should be merry and bright, so Blue Moon is a perfect match for the holidays. The crack of a beer, the pour, the first sip of that bold flavor, Blue Moon always feels like a special occasion. Best served with its signature orange garnish to showcase its beautiful bright color, a beer this good only comes around once in a blue moon, but you can enjoy it all through the holidays. Brighten up the holidays with a beer that's made brighter. Get Blue Moon Belgian White Belgian-style wheat ale, Light Sky, and Moon Haze delivered by visiting get.bluemoonbeer.com/Jared for delivery options. That's get.bluemoonbeer.com/Jared. Blue Moon, made brighter. Celebrate responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado Ale.
When you're covering a team and you've got to break, I mean, obviously you're making relationships with some guys, but some guys, they're not into that. Like they're not that friendly or approachable, whatever. Can you kind of see down the road, like this guy is probably going to end up in our studio someday? And are there some guys that maybe you were wrong about where they did end up in the studio, whereas you didn't think that they would have taken that path?
That's a great question. And I think which is, by the way, that's my favorite stalling technique. When somebody asks a question and you want to think about the answer, that's a great question. I just bought myself 4 seconds of thinking.
Sam Kennedy I appreciate
he's
the question.
The king of it. Yeah.
I appreciate
I've called him out on it.
Mm-hmm.
On the air live, he'll say,
he appreciates every question.
I appreciate the question. Yeah. And I say and I cut him off once and said, you're saying that because you're stalling. Yeah. And he said, I appreciate you saying that. I was like, I can't win this one. So take it away.
Yeah, you just had an appreciate off.
Euclid is, Uke is the name that comes, I knew Uke would be great. Because he's a grinder. I think first and foremost, to be a really good analyst, a lot of them were guys who had to grind at it, to really learn the craft and make themselves better. So the game. And he's just a funny dude, and he doesn't take himself too seriously, and that's all important. I was the one who went after him to Zoom that first year, and then I was the one who convinced him to audition for the booth because he was like, I don't think I'm any good at it. I was like, no, you'll be good, and I think he's great. Will Middlebrook's another one. I mean, I think he was a pretty obvious guy who really. Unlike a lot of analysts, I've worked with so many guys and I've seen so many guys on TV who just, it's the nerds are ruining the game. It's like, well, dude, I mean, that's the way the game is played now, and I give Jim Rice crap, and he's like, these pitchers can't even go 8 innings. Go 8 innings anymore.
8 innings.
I haven't seen an 8 inning start in 3 years. Yeah. It's, so you get a lot of that. And Jim knows he'll do that now to sort of, tweak me and get me fired up. But Will really is able to use the analytics, and I ain't even using the word analytics because it's information, right? To take the information that every major league club is using, but he can show it to you in how a player uses it. And that's pretty unique. And that's what I really like about Will. So there are a couple of guys, the guy we talk forever, and the story has yet to be written here. But where the hell is Brock Holt's broadcasting career? Because if you had a gun to my head, I'd have said all the money on the greatest player to be broadcaster is Brock Holt.
Yeah,
but he's too busy, coaching Griff's career. And,
he was just on the last episode with us.
I know
for Friendsgiving. But I think, where he ultimately lands, and this is, Brock being Brock, he's a humble guy. I think he struggles with being critical of players when he's like, well, I wasn't a perennial all-star. He did make an all-star team, but it's, like baseball for him, he wasn't he was our star, but he wasn't a star player. And I think he probably doesn't want to be the guy being like, oh, he should have made this play or he should have done that. That's probably the issue that he runs into. But I think ultimately he will have some sort of broadcasting role somewhere down the line. It's probably just up to him, right? If he wants to do pre and post, I'm sure he can do that. If he's doing some stuff with the foul territory guys, so he's doing a little bit of that.
It's really good. And that's a nice, well, listen, here's the thing, okay? I mean, these guys, and Brock is a classic example, right? You devote your life to this game. It's nonstop. You're playing, working every day, every night. And now for the first time, you get a chance to be around your family. And he's got a great family. I mean, it's kind of sickening how wonderful his family is. They all like each other. Right?
So we did the closing segment was tell me what you're thankful for. And most of us did a joking thing that we were thankful for. And Brock was like, I'm thankful for my family. I love my wife, my kids.
We felt thankful.
He was like, the fact that now that I'm not playing, I get to be around my family more. And, I get to take my kids to school and tuck them in at night. And I get to see my wife all the time. Lakin's awesome. And it's just, that
she's awesome. The kids are awesome. He's awesome. It's disgusting.
Yeah. It's
and it's funny when they moved to Tennessee, I kind of called, because NESN was basically filling him in, they'd penciled him in for 70 games next, right? Next season, as soon as he retires, he's going to do 70 games. And as soon as he moved to Tennessee, I was like, I don't know. He loves his family. He likes to be around his family, and they like him. Unlike most of us, where you say all that. My family loves me when I'm on a road trip, and for a few days after. The success, I've been married 32 years. I would say the secret to a great marriage is don't be around that much.
Right.
I'm great in small doses. You get sick of me fast. I get
personal space. It's huge.
Yeah. So once they moved away, I was like, if they were still here and he could do this and go home at the end of the night, but now you're going to ask him to move up here. I'm like you. I think 10 years from now or whatever, he's doing it in some fashion. As the kids are a little bit older and you can come and go a little bit more, but good for him, man. I mean, you don't get this chance. And he worked his butt off to get them, to have a career that afforded him the ability to stay home for a while with his family.
Yeah. I think there's a big difference between I don't feel comfortable criticizing players versus I don't feel comfortable criticizing players that I played with.
Right. I think that's a great call.
Yeah.
I think that's true. And you see, we've had guys who've come in and just didn't really last because of that, right? And we're not talk radio, right? I mean, I always say the worst major league player is one of the greatest baseball players in the history of the planet, right? So we always try to remember that. Mm-hmm. But there, and Jerry Remy, rest in peace, was the absolute best at being able to call out a player for a play on the field without ever letting it get personal.
Yeah.
Right? There's just certain words. I remember Jerry talking about, you never say lazy, right? You never say, it's a throwaway line. You hear it all the time, right? That's a lazy play. It's not a lazy play. And he's like, that's a trigger word, right?
Yeah.
Player hears you call him lazy. Now you got something, you got a battle.
Sure.
Stupid. You don't use the word stupid. You don't use it's just thinking of the words, but also, Jerry's philosophy was you can criticize a play. Be careful criticizing the player, right? And that's a big difference. Like, he'd like to, if he had a chance to do this play again, Jerry say that a lot, right? You see where he went to second base. If he had a chance to do it again, I think he knows he'd rather go to first to get the out. That's totally different from, it's a lazy play, just flipping it to second base.
Right. What an idiot.
What an idiot. That's like Bobby Valentine calling Mike Avila stupid.
Yeah.
During spring training. And he actually didn't. I was there. He said it's a stupid play. He said, don't make a stupid play. But again, that's that word, right? You don't use that word.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you've had so many great personalities as broadcasting partners. Would you say, I mean, I don't want to lead you into a specific person, but would you say you've learned the most from Jerry?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, especially because the first couple of years, I'd done hockey for a long time, and then they threw me into the sideline thing in 2002. I've loved baseball all my life. The Red Sox have always been my favorite team, and it's different when you're on the road covering a team every day. And I'm glad I started that way as opposed to like being in studio then becoming the reporter, because the 2 years of being on the road, of really understanding, what goes into a major league life and a major league season and the challenges they face, and being alongside Jerry for all of it, it was a great education, in how to handle major league players, how to talk to them, when to talk to them, when not to talk to them. And, that was, 203. I mean, you're talking about that Manny and David, and Pedro, just the guys were larger than life. Johnny Damon and Tech and Derek Lowe. And, he said, how did he put it? He said, listen, just remember at the end of the day, even when these guys are really like fired up, mad, don't be worried about it. No one's going to hurt you. And he turns around and he starts, there's on a bus. I remember it, where he's leaving the bus, first road trip or whatever. Then he turns back around and goes, except for maybe Ugi Urbina. Stay away from him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as it turned out, that was really good advice.
Yeah, dude hacked up a bunch of people with a machete in Venezuela or some shit.
Yeah.
And then set them on fire, I believe, after. Like he wasn't done there. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was good advice. And that's absolutely true. That was like 5 years before that happened. Jerry's like, they're not going to hurt you. Yeah. Except for maybe Ugi Urbina. Be careful around here.
Don't fuck with that guy. I'm pretty sure he led the Red Sox in saves the year prior in 2002.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Red Sox.
Yeah, we had that. Yeah, we've had closers. Closers are the best because what we do when you come on right after the game, that's what's raw, right? And I mean, for or against the Red Sox. I hate to say it as a fan, but as a broadcaster, there is nothing better than a blown save. Doesn't matter which side, because you come on, bang. I mean, people are fired up. Our producers are screaming because they've spent 3 hours building this great show about somebody going 3 for 4, and instead you come on and you spend the entire first segment talking about a blown save.
Yeah, there you go. I want to get the story right. So this is it's almost the anniversary. The anniversary just passed. On November 7th, 2005, Ugi Urbina was arrested in Venezuela for attempted murder stemming from an incident on October 16th. He assaulted 5 farm workers on his property, accusing them of stealing a gun. Urbina used a machete and tried to douse them with gasoline. On March 28, 2007, Urbina was convicted of attempted murder and sentenced to 14 years and 7 months in prison. He was released on December 24th, 2012, after serving just over 7 years of his sentence. So he's out, baby. He's free.
And again, I said everything with nothing but love in my heart, Oogie. Right?
Yeah,
if you're watching, listening to the podcast, it was an honor to cover you.
Yeah, he listens. He actually he's left a few voicemails.
Next week's guest, actually.
Yeah, we're actually adding him to the Clark's Ketchup Series MVP voting panel next year.
Be careful. He's mad you didn't invite him to Friendsgiving. So just be careful.
That's true. He was busy. He was looking at a new machete. How has your experience been this year being a Clark's Ketchup Series MVP voter?
So, the first thing that comes to mind is the favorite, forget who wins, okay? Forget, you got a panel, whatever, that's fine. My favorite pick, the pick that I gave you, I don't know if you would think of this if I asked you what was the best pick I gave you all year, but it was Cutter Crawford in Philadelphia while he was on the injured list because he got Matt Strahm thrown out of the game from the stare down.
Yes.
And I was like, any guy who's not on the active roster and can impact a game is my MVP. And I sent that to you. And you post them, right? And 2 days later, we're in Atlanta. He comes up to me. He goes, "That's the greatest pick you've ever made." And he walks away. Thank you.
It is funny to see, I don't really talk to a ton of the players now, for whatever reason, but they do pay attention. They do pay attention to who wins Clark's Ketchup Series MVP. I forget. There was one reliever that I think made a comment to another voter being like, I deserved it that series. They're trying to influence voters. Which is very funny to me. We asked Chaim if he wanted to be a voter, and he said no. But I think part of it was that they could what if an agent uses that in arbitration? Chaim Bloom.
Pulling us up.
Chaim Bloom voted for my client to be Clark's Ketchup Series MVP in 3 different series in the month of June. That constitutes some sort of a pay bump. We can point to a moment in time where Chaim thought very highly of my client here.
Thought he was the best player on the team that weekend in Philadelphia, right?
Yes.
The PowerPoint has the Clark's Ketchup logo up, and the agent puts up there.
I know.
Smart. He saved the organization some money.
Truly did.
Move. I think, and this would be, it's a great idea, and it would be way too much work for you guys to do. But what you should do is each week or each series, right? Whenever you have a winning series, the previous Clark's Ketchup MVP winner should get a vote for the next series.
That's if they speak to us.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I'm saying it'd be a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I think what we want to do, because Jake, did someone send us stickers or no?
We got stickers. We got bumper stickers. I think we got some actual bottles. We got a lot of Clark's Ketchup merch.
So I think next year what I want to do is get a bottle of Clark's Ketchup in the clubhouse and then
pass it around.
Yeah, you just keep it in your locker. If you want it, put it in your locker, and then it just gets passed to the next guy.
So I promise you, I will. If you can do that, I will do whatever I can to make sure the NESN photographers frame the interviews with the bottle in the bottle in the locker.
Right? Imagine how confused Shohei is going to be to just have a giant tub of ketchup in his locker all fucking year. He's going to be again with the ketchup, another ketchup. That's going to be tough. That's going to be tough for Shohei.
And the one week he doesn't win it, Trevor Story's got it over his head, the end of the Masters, you're running around with the ketchup bottle.
Yeah. I won't stop until there is a Red Sox playoff celebration where instead of champagne, they're just squirting ketchup all over the place.
Ketchup everywhere.
That's what I want. That's my goal. That's the legacy I want to leave behind, TC.
That's what I meant. My rain delays are a blast to cover because they're so unscripted, but champagne celebrations from the studio are the best because you're literally doing play-by-play of guys just going nuts in a 40 by 30 room. And just, okay. I mean, some of the, and back in the day when guys were a little crazier, you'd cut live to like, David Ortiz half undressed, just dousing somebody in the face with a gold bottle. And just, we haven't done enough of those. It's been too long.
It's been too long. Fun. It's been too long. Before we let you go, you've been very generous with your time. Do you have
it's the off season? I got nothing to do.
Same.
My wife's downstairs. My wife's downstairs hoping this goes 3 hours. She's like, you're done already?
Yeah. That's people ask me like, hey, what are you up to on this day? I'm like, I don't even have to look at my calendar. I'm not doing anything. Whatever you want to do. Do you have a favorite Tim Wakefield story to share with us?
That's a good question. Wake was great about Wake is like the way guys talked about him on the team, like what a great teammate he was. He was like that with us in the green room. You know what I mean? Like Rice is like that. The guys who were the big clubhouse character guys kind of become that same way. And he's like the guy who would, and this is a generic, it's not a specific story, but he's like the guy who at the end of the pregame show would just tell the camera guys and the crew, you guys all order dinner, give me the bill, just little things, right? That I don't do because I'm cheap. But that, no, we do. But just a guy who, he'd come in and he would tell you something. And Pedro used to tell me this when they were teammates. He said, Wake is a guy who can see a mechanical flaw live. Like he'll tell me between innings, you're flying open. So that's like what we started to be able to get out of him. And that's why I think he was really good in the booth. And that was just starting because he could see a guy's mechanical, and say what he needs to fix or what he's doing without being negative, right? Like we've talked about. But as far as like one story, well, the spring training, this one just popped in my head. Spring training, I don't remember the year. We would do the foundation game, we call it. And it's all the Red Sox Foundation stuff. And that whole game is about that. And Tim was such a huge part of that. It was against the Yankees at JetBlue. And we're about to do our pregame show. We were doing it on the field because we don't usually do it in spring training. And Aaron Boone is walking by. And I'm like, and he comes over, hey guys, and I say, hey, I got to take a picture of you two. And of course, Boone like puts his arm around him and smiles. And we take the picture. And Boone walks off. And Wade just had, he looked a great smile in the picture. He goes, you post that on the internet, I will kill you. And it was great because it was just such a quick, and he smiled and you'd never know. Like Booney walks away thinking, wait, and he just, he's like, do I have to delete it? He goes, no, I trust you. But if I ever see that posted, you're dead. You're like, okay.
Fair enough. He was just, I mean, that's the hardest thing I've ever had to do, right? We were on the air. Jim Rice and I were on the air when we got word and had about a half hour left. That was the last game of the season. And it's been too much, right? I mean, I was with Eck last night. We had the tradition at the Garden and we honored Dennis and Eck was talking about that. Remy a few years ago, now Wake this year it's been too much. And that's what, Eck was saying. It further strengthened his belief that he made the right call retiring. He's like, I want to spend time with my grandkids. I want to be present in my family's life, not worried about watching a game and getting ready for the next show and doing whatever. And he goes, it's just, you got to be there when you can. Yeah.
It's one of those things. Like, I remember when Jerry passed away and the winter went by, and you deal with it like you deal with any loss, but it was like it was spring training and the opening of the next baseball season where it's like I went through a whole other wave of grief because, I didn't talk to him a ton in the winter. We talk once in a while, right? Same with Wake. I'd text him this winter, but come baseball season, I'd text him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to think about next season without Wake being part of it. So that's gonna be tough.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. I think anyone that has a Wakefield story, the central message is always the same. Everyone loved Tim Wakefield, whether you knew him for 5 minutes, 5 years, or 5 decades. He was one of the best. Tyler, do you have any closing questions for TC before we let him return to his family?
I'll make it quick. I got 2.
Take your time.
First one, you and Shaughnessy on Twitter. Now, me and Jared, we get grouped under the umbrella along with you of the Red Sox homers, whatever, the talk radio people like to clown on us. When it comes to you and Shaughnessy kind of punching back and forth at times, what is that relationship actually like? And, is it kind of just, busting balls? Or is it like, no, Shaughnessy, like, you're too negative. I'm going to tell you the truth when you need to hear it.
All right. So it's funny because I was with him last night. Again, the tradition is the sports museum event that we do IMC at the Garden every year. And Dan has been a great supporter of that. So I was with him last night a little bit. And I've talked to him a couple times over the last month or two. But backing it up, like I started the fight. Okay, I out of nowhere, I don't know why. And I actually thought I had sort of cropped the headline to not have his name in it, but I was on the road with the team. I was on a bus. It was after a game. They won a few games in a row and, they were wherever they were early in the season, playing pretty well. And I just, he had done the story that, as expected, Red Sox back in last place or whatever the headline was.
I got into it with them on the same thing.
Yeah, I remember. After the first game of the year. And so I cropped that headline and I just said, in retrospect, maybe one game into a 162 game season was a little early to call the season, and the line that I remember he jumped on was I said like, they're not, because he said Sox are in last place. Right. And he came, he was right back with the swing. How embarrassing to try to suck up to ownership, this, whatever. And then, boom, it became a thing, right? Which I didn't back away from. So over the course of the season, through all that, I never talked to him.
Not a word.
I never saw him. I didn't reach out. He didn't reach out. So it went for months, and it kind of got 98.5 of the morning guys. We talked about it for, and it really did become a thing. And it was the first real sort of extended Twitter beef I've ever been in. And I don't remember where I was when I first saw him, but I think it was after the season. And, he was right in the end. So, no defending my take. And I think he was trying to feel out if I was pissed. And I was like, no, dude, whatever. You were right, first of all. And I don't think he's too negative. I don't think I'm too positive. It's all part of it. And it's funny, we saw him last night. And as my wife and I were at the tradition and we were coming, there's like the stage. Have you guys ever been? We got to get you there next year. It's a great event. We had last night was really cool. It's Dennis Eckersley and Doc Rivers and Kevin Falk and Bob Sweeney and Dana White, who's wild. It was really cool. And so we're backstage before the event and I'm bringing her out to the floor with this like a cocktail party. And we sort of pull open the curtains and bump into Shaughnessy. And I say, hey, he had said something nice about me because the Lewiston thing, I'm from Lewiston, Maine, and I had done some stuff, and he had said something nice in the call. And, I thanked him for that. And he said to my wife, Tom and I had a little fun on Twitter this summer. And I don't know. She said she didn't say it. I heard her say like, yeah, some of it was fun. I started laughing. But either way, it's just, I didn't know how serious he was. I think he was pretty serious when it began. I think he was pissed that I brought up his name when they were playing well. And I'm not, I don't know. I don't think of myself as too much of a homer. I just really do think I hate when anybody, Shaughnessy, talk radio, whoever it is, what I hate about a lot of sports coverage now, and Dan's not really like this because he writes a lot of columns that are all, his random thoughts, right? He's not there are a lot of takes. It's not like he does one take, right? He's got a lot of takes. But so much of it now has become, I said they're going to suck this year. And so then...
And you're dancing on the grave 2 games into the season. And
dancing on the graves, but you also now have become somebody, and again, I'm not trying to pick another fight with Shaughnessy. So this is about a lot of people in Boston, okay? Mm-hmm. But what's happened is you now have reporters who are rejoicing when your local team loses. Which again, you don't have to cheer when they win. I get there's no cheering in the press box. That's fine. But do we really want, everybody, woohoo, they lost 5 in a row. I hate that. Cover the team and if you think they suck, that's fine. But don't discard everything they're doing well when they're playing badly, or vice versa. So anyway, that's a long answer to the question. We're good. We as of last night, we're good. So we'll see. We'll see what happens next season.
I'm surprised he didn't text you, because any spat that I get in with Shaughnessy, I'll throw a haymaker and then he'll text me and be like, nice.
Yeah. That's why I thought he was really pissed, because we never, and again, maybe I should have, we don't text. Listen, I had a cancer scare in 2015 and I wanted to get it out there before the telethon because we were going to talk about it. And I thought it was disingenuous. I went to Dan to write the story because I know his daughter had been at Dana-Farber and all that. But I wouldn't say we're best friends, but we've had a good relationship. And it was radio science. I mean, we're talking about 5 months. I never saw him in a press box. I kept waiting to see him. Yeah. And I never saw him. We never bumped into each other and we never texted. And so we're good. We're fine. But the first time I bumped into him, it was a little weird. Because hey.
I always tell Jared, I have no relationship with Shaughnessy. The closest thing was I was an intern on Zolak and Bertrand, and he used to come in weekly and had a spot. Right. And more than anything, I always wanted to just talk ball with him. But, Shaughnessy comes in when it was time to go. And as an intern, you stay to the back. And now we've taken shots at each other on Twitter. I've done it on air. Never seriously. It's sports, right? But I've always wondered the same thing and how people kind of interact. But the other thing I wanted to ask you, TC, was this spring training, the cat incident, where that was very scary. For a moment, we thought we were going to lose TC. Was that one of the weirdest moments you've ever had as, a sideline guy or just in general working in media?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you buried me. It was, and I really, looking back on it, it's one of the most embarrassing things I've ever been involved in, because it is the fluffiest, tamest looking little house cat.
It was moving though. It was moving.
It was running across the dirt. It was on the warning track, and we're in Jupiter, I think it was, we're at Miami Stadium. And then I wanted to, and they tell me, and so I sort of lean out and look up, and I can't find it. And by now it's crawling up the netting. And I turn, and it just lunges towards me. And I swear, it's the first look I get. I'm not a cat guy either. I'm a dog guy. So cats are all a little creepy to me, okay? And the thing, I just saw Lion King. I saw, who's the bad guy? I don't even remember. The bad lion. Scar, thank you. I saw Scar lunging at me. And literally, I don't think they had audio, but I think I was I jumped and ran away. And I was for some reason, I was worried about my hair. It's going to get stuck in my hairspray and claws. And then, and it runs away, and they show the replay. They're like, look at the monitor. We're going to show the replay. I look at the monitor, and it's this little house cat, And I'm like, I'm trying to play it off as, this thing is, again, it could be a feral, puma. There's a lot of jaguars down here in Florida. Panthers, could be a baby panther. And Yuke was like, we just got a call. Fluffy was lost from one of the houses nearby. If you could get Fluffy, it's just destroying me. He couldn't stop laughing. He went one half inning. He could barely talk because he thought it was so funny. And then the New York Daily News ran a thing on it. It got this. It was on the front of Fox MLB, their Instagram story that has 1 million followers. That was they do a little 3 strips of last night in baseball. And it, 2 were walk-off home runs, but the top one was me hiding from Fluffy, the house cat.
Fluffy.
I connected with it. I got attacked by a cat at a young age, and we wrestled, and I barely made it out of it. So when I saw that cat come for you, I know that feeling. So I was able to kind of connect on that level.
I hate cats. I mean, that's yeah. Yeah, I'm a dog guy.
Yeah, big time dog guy.
Right. Although my dog's the size of a cat, which is embarrassing. We had do you guys have dogs? Anybody have dogs?
Samantha the Labradoodle.
My dog's name is Jacoby, and when I met Jacoby Ellsbury, I told him that, and I don't know that he cared that much.
It was a great. We're going all over the place here, but this summer I was at this golf tournament with Tuukka Rask, and it'd been a long weekend, and we'd been out in the sun, and maybe there were a couple cocktails involved. But at one point, Tuukka's like, "You know how many dogs are named Tuukka in New England?" And it was the most random thing, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I think I know 3 Tuukka dogs."
Yeah,
it's a great dog name.
Yeah,
and just like I'm sure there, how many kids are Brady?
Brady,
Jacoby's another one. I had a friend who had a dog named Jacoby growing up.
Right?
Well, they copied me for sure. Jacoby is like,
is he 13, 14?
Bro, he was born in 2007. Like he was born in Jacoby Ellsbury's rookie season.
That's awesome.
He's like 15, 16.
So you jumped in. You were an early adopter.
Yes.
That's tough.
I saw Jacoby Ellsbury in the World Series in 2007, and I was like, "Yep."
Like anybody who named their dog Bear Claw last year, like, that's a bad move now. You're stuck with a Bear Claw the dog.
Yeah, like there's. Go ahead. No, I was going to say, like, what other fucking sports names are there for pets right now?
Mookie.
Yeah, there's ball. Yeah. Not now. Like what would you name?
Not here. Not in Boston. Yeah. That's a great question. Porzingis? That's a weird name for a dog.
Yeah, like you're gonna name your dog Tatum.
Just Zingus, but that sounds weird.
Yeah, there's nothing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Meyer, you get ahead of it on
Raffy,
Blaze. What if Blaze Jordan? Blaze would be a good name for a dog, right?
But as of like active Boston sports athletes, there's nothing going.
Wow, that I feel you've got a whole other podcast coming up on this.
Yeah,
like that's
there's some Tatums, I bet.
I don't know of any.
Yeah,
reach out if your dog's named Tatum.
Yeah, if you get a dog or
probably
a cat.
Probably a lot of not a Max. I feel like there's probably a bunch of dogs that were named Mac and now are named something else.
Yeah,
me, my dog Spot. I thought it was Mac. Yeah, not anymore.
Yeah, like when
Bailey Zappi works out,
that
could work.
Zappi wouldn't be a bad dog name, but again, are you ready to roll the dice?
No,
don't do it.
And a month from now, people asking you, why the hell is your dog named Zappi?
Right, that's a tough one. What were you going to say before I interrupted you?
Oh, nothing. I was just, you were talking about dogs and it kind of ties into the cat thing. Like this is our third dog. Okay. We've always had dogs. Our family, when I was a kid, we had dogs, but we had like 100-pound dog was our first dog before we had kids. And then we got like this 50-pound dog. And now we have this 10-pound Yorkie. And our next thing is going to be like a hamster, I guess.
Yeah.
But I was like so against it. And she wanted a small dog to travel. It's easier. You take them to hotels, whatever. Our son was playing college soccer. It's a lot easier to do everything with a small dog. And I was like against it. I'm like, they're cats. I don't want a small dog. Like we got the thing. And like by day 3, I'm on my hands. Go get a puppy. It's so embarrassing. I have no dignity at all around that dog. It's awful.
Yeah. I mean, eventually I'll get my own dog. Like Jacoby's the family dog. I got to get my own dog. I don't know what I'm going to name him. Yeah, man. I don't know. Like I'm
just saying.
Maybe I'll get a dog named Cora. Depends on the gender.
That's not bad.
Yeah, but like bad. I think if
he's only got 1 year, he's only got 1 year left on the contract. I mean, just make sure he gets,
But he's also like he's a man that changed my life. So I even said to him, I was like, if I have a daughter, I might name her Cora.
That's weird.
Why? That's a girl's name.
Beautiful. It's just weird.
That's a girl's name.
I know, but like when she's 16, she's not going to be thrilled that you named her after the manager of the Red Sox.
Yeah, but she would like. What if Alex is her godfather?
Well, there you go.
That's even more weird.
I forget that you have a relationship with him. That
very close.
us mere mortals.
Like about. I think if I wouldn't name my kid after like a player that I was like kind of friendly with while he was here, but then when he left, it's like we just lose. Like I feel like me and Alex will be friends for life at this point.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something. Not that you need more reasons to love AC, but I'll tell you this again. The Lewiston thing happened, right? The mass shooting, and I'm from there. My wife's from there. We're Lewiston High School, the whole thing. And you hear when and may you never find out, but when something like that goes down, it's in your hometown. You hear from so many people, which is beautiful. I mean, it really is. The sport means everything. He was one of the first people I got a text from. Like, I'm talking, it was, 8:00 that night. He was like, just anything you need. I'm here for you. The Sox are here for you. They're here for the town. Let me know what you need. And again, I already knew the kind of guy he was, but it really makes you realize that he's a special guy.
Yeah.
No doubt.
He's one of the best.
And he's your manager.
It's my manager forever. Till I die. That's then he'll go upstairs to the front.
But that's
office.
the thing. Like, do you want your daughter named after the general manager of the Montreal, whatever they are?
It would be,
or the Nashville Commanders. Or,
it would be that. What if my daughter was the namesake of the man that helped change my life to now where you're living a life that you wouldn't have had otherwise?
Okay. Yeah, there's that.
Can't fight it. Look at the house you're living in.
Can't fight that. I mean, that's,
right?
Yeah.
Like, without 2018, am I living the life that I am right now? Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah. What if they would have been a last place team in 2018?
My life would be very different.
It looks like this.
I'd be living
back-to-back seasons in last place.
You get fired from Jordan's Furniture. You just, you're desolate.
Yeah.
Millionaire.
Yeah.
That's one of those, like, you can do a whole episode on that, like the what if.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You guys should do that sometime.
That'd be scary.
Do it in the alternate reality, the multiverse, where Jared is unemployed and he's still sending emails to the Postgame Show where I have to tell the producers, would you stop taking emails? Every night, taking email questions was a new thing.
Yeah.
And every night, all right, we like the 7th or 8th inning. What do we got for email questions? And they'd give me 12 and 11 of them are from Jared.
I would just be like, what do you guys think about like a Pedro Ciriaco extension? Like, it just seems like you want to get in early because if you do that, it's going to save you a ton of money. And then you can take that money and spend it on someone like Matt Kemp. What do you think?
Right. Tim? What do you think? Bill Miller has more power from the left side, even if he's a better hitter for average from the right. And they'd be great questions. They would be great questions every night. So our producers would be, here are the 3 questions for tonight. And 2 to 3 of them would be from Jared.
Yeah.
And I was like, it can't be the Jared Carabas thing. Like, it's supposed to be emails from viewers. It's not, here's what's on Jared's mind.
I am a viewer.
I mean, today it would work because everybody knows who you are. Back then, you're some high school kid.
Right.
It's unbelievable. Every night.
I do remember, I must have a screenshot of it somewhere. I do remember my Pedro Ciriaco question did get through. Like, I do have documentation of that.
That's when it was a quiet news week.
Listen,
taking Pedro Ciriaco questions.
Pedro Ciriaco was one.
But we don't have the same producers every night, right? Like, I'm the only guy who works every night.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I always, we always tell stories about the green room at NESN, and these freaking guys, they come in and, Jim Rice shows up and the big thing is, what are we going to eat tonight? Right? Because we get together in the afternoon, we do the pregame show, we're all starving. And that's what you do during the game. You eat dinner. And these guys are always like, hey, let's get steak. Let's get pasta. Let's get fried clams. I'm like, dude, I can't eat like this every night.
Every night.
I'm going to die. But they're here for 3 days, and they're like, let's party. My wife makes me eat healthy. Let's go. And so with the producers, we have different guys come and go and women and, producers. And so back then it'd be a producer and she hadn't done the show in a week. I got 3 really good questions. And I swear to God, you would do, like, one would be Jared Carabas. One would be Jay Carabas. One would be JC from Saugus. Yeah. And it would they'd eat some, and I'm like, they're the same guy.
You can tell the tone.
They say, trust me, the guy asking about Byung Kim's changeup is the same guy asking the Pedro Ciriaco question.
Right.
Those aren't two different people.
This dude that's suggesting that we bring back Nomar Garciaparra the year that he signed with the A's, it's the same guy.
He's got something left in the tank.
I did a whole PowerPoint presentation on that. I had a speech class in college, and I did my presentation. I had two of them for a final. One of them was on why the Red Sox should trade for Adrian Gonzalez, which they did. And then I said, bring back Nomar, which I believe they did. They did like a 1-day contract.
They did a 1 day. So you were right. You're 2 for 2. Mm-hmm. Congratulations. Yeah.
See?
My version of that
not all
is
terrible ideas.
My version of that is must have been, I think, high school. I did a presentation on Beyond the Sixth Game, which is Beyond the Seventh Game, whatever it's called. It was Peter Gammon's book on the 75 World Series. And then, one day Peter Gammons is in studio as a co-host. Those are the weird things, right? I mean, there's still Peter Gammons. I got into this a lot because I was reading his Sunday column back when that was the only time you heard about the National League in New England, was in the Gammon Sunday Notes. And I had a landmark birthday 2 weeks ago. And
let's hear it, TC.
60.
60?
You believe it, Crap?
I would have guessed 50. I was going to say 50. Yeah. Happy birthday.
Yeah. Thank you.
Did I text you? I texted you. Did I text you?
You did.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, you did. But this was a go. I get my phone's buzzing. We're in Kentucky. We went to Louisville for my birthday with friends and went on the Bourbon Trail and went to Churchill Downs. It was great. I remember none of it. And it's my phone's buzzing. That's a joke. I remember all of it. My phone's buzzing and I go pick it up and it's Jim Rice FaceTiming me, which is really cool. And so, I pick it up and he's like, happy birthday. And he pans. He's at a card show in Chicago. And he pans and Eckersley's sitting next to him.
Oh.
And they're wishing me happy birthday. And that's, you guys have those moments, right? Where every now and then you pinch yourself. Like, what the hell? Jim Rice, if little Tommy from Lewiston, Maine was ever told someday Jim Rice and Dennis Eckersley are going to FaceTime you. Well, first of all, I don't know what the hell FaceTime was, but they're going to, call you and wish you a happy birthday.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. David Ortiz texted me saying happy Thanksgiving. I took a screenshot and sent it to my family group text. I was like, David Ortiz just wished me a happy Thanksgiving.
Was it on Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. His birthday's the day after mine. So
his birthday's the 18th.
Yeah, I'm the 17th.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that was one of those moments where I was like, what the fuck is my life? Like,
right?
I never would have guessed in a million years. And then at the Pedro Martinez Foundation Gala, I was at the after party. And like, I have a relationship with Pedro, but like my theory is always that, who like your heroes were when you were a kid, like they always will be that way. So like, right. I don't know that there's like I guess Clayton Kershaw. Like if I met Clayton Kershaw today, I'd be like, what's up, man? Like, nice to meet you. Like, it wouldn't be like, holy shit, it's Clayton Kershaw. Right. But so like Pedro is still that to me now. I'm 34 and I see him at the after party and I go up to him and just say hi, whatever. And he just goes, he's like, just know, he's like, I see everything that you're doing. He's like, you're bringing baseball to the youth and like you're growing the game. You're doing an awesome job. He was like just like saying all this stuff about like, what we're doing with like the podcast and everything. And in my head, I was like, I only heard the first couple sentences. Like everything you said after that, I'm just stuck on you saying that you even noticed anything that I'm doing with my career, like that type of stuff. Cause like I was there with the girl that I'm seeing she's not a baseball fan. She doesn't care about sports, nothing. So at the dinner, I'm sitting next to Jim Rice. Jim Rice is on my right. She's on my left. We're sitting at this table. Jason Varitek is across from us. She's sitting next to Andrew Raycroft. And so like Jim's with his wife. They've been married forever, 50 years of marriage, whatever it is. And Jim's talking to me about the laundry thing. And then he's talking to her being like, please tell me you don't do his laundry. And she's like, no. She's like, I would never do his laundry. It's like we're having this whole conversation. And after we leave to go to the next thing, I was like, Jim Rice is like in the Hall of Fame, right? Like he's like, that's a big deal. She's like, I don't follow baseball.
No idea.
She's like, I just, she's like talking to Pedro. She's like hanging out with Veritek and Jim Rice. She's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't follow baseball. But it's crazy.
And my wife she's become more of a sports fan because she's been around this for so long.
Yeah.
But she was not at all a fan. In fact, the funny story is I was a hockey guy, right? I done minor league hockey. I came to NESN. I was the Bruins host. And when the new ownership was coming in 2002, they asked me to be part of a group to come up with like new ideas for the new owners, what we want to do. And there was no sideline reporter. And so my idea was you should put a sideline reporter on the Red Sox because we'll beef up coverage. You'll need a sideline reporter. So they come back and they say, yeah, they love that idea and they want you to do it. And I was already doing hockey. And I come home and our kids are 6 and 2. I had 2 boys who beat the snot out of each other on forget daily, hourly basis.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I gotta go tell her that I'm going to go on the road with the Red Sox and this is going to be, and she's working full time and this is going to be ugly. And I go home and I hey, they want me to do this. And she's like, wow, what a great opportunity for your career. That's awesome. I'm so happy for you. Like, wow. Okay. Thanks. That's great.
Yeah.
But a week later, she comes back from work. She goes, hey, I'm like, yeah. Somebody I work with told me they play baseball every night. I'm like, yeah, you can't do that. She thought it was like hockey. Yeah. It was like 3 games a week. I've been traveling hockey. She'd been around that. You leave on a Friday. You wake up Saturday morning. I'm back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No. We got a 17-game road trip coming up in June.
Yeah.
But I still did it. But yeah, those moments when you meet, I always think of, there's 2 for me that I always think of, which are both different. One is about a couple of years into doing NESN, I'm at some charity golf tournament covering it. And I hear, hey, Tom, TC. I look up and it's Bobby Orr. And Bobby Orr, and again, I grew up in, Bobby Orr. Mm-hmm. And he's calling me over because he wants to ask me something about our Bruins coverage. And I'm walking that 20 feet, literally like a little kid. Like my heart, I'm getting palpitate, like, all right, echo. Mm-hmm. And it's those guys you watched as kids, right?
Yeah.
The other one, I forget what year it was. We had, and I've been pushing for this for a long time, we got Rice, Lynn, and Evans together on the show, which was, when I was a kid, was the outfield, right? It was the greatest outfield. And that 75 team was great. So I went out and got a 75 authentic jersey from the Red Sox. I went over to Twins and they got me one and paid for it. Actually, I didn't pay for anything these days, but I paid for that, right?
Yeah.
And I want those 3 autographs on that jersey for my man cave, right? And so they're on the show. I've got the jersey. They're on for like 2 segments. I'm like in the middle of the commercial. I'm like, hey, when you guys are done, you mind? They're like, no, of course. So it's cool. We finished the segment, and as I look up, Yaz has come up to meet them because they're all being whisked away there was some ceremony.
Yeah.
And so the 3 of them autographed the jersey, and then I think Evans was last, hands it to Yaz. And my gut instinct was, no, I don't want because my thought was the 3 names.
Yeah.
And I'm about to tell Carl Yastrzemski not to autograph my jersey. And I'm like, what kind of asshole have you become?
Right.
That you're telling Yaz, and I didn't. The 4 names are on the jersey, and it's fine. But like literally, I was so caught up and like I'm like, are you that much of a jerk now that you're going to tell Yaz, no, I'm good. Yeah. I don't need your autograph.
Yeah. See, it's an outfield thing, Yaz, for 75, and it's you got to sit this one out.
You were first base at that point.
Yeah.
You really weren't,
Right.
But I justify it as he did play some outfield that year. So
yeah. That's kind of like
I'm good.
Like if you had a 2018 jersey and you wanted like Mookie, JBJ, and Benny, but then Steve Pierce walks in, you're like, I guess,
it works.
Sure, like maybe, like it counts, I guess, and he could inscribe it World Series MVP, and like Yaz could throw down like a 67 Triple Crown,
right? Or like if you wanted a 2007 jersey, but you wouldn't. I mean, nobody would want a 2007 jersey.
There's no one that would be dumb enough to wear that jersey.
Yeah. I would every day. Dustin Pedroia, call me, please. I'll take every signature.
Yeah.
I will rep 2007 till the day I die.
TC,
Rookie Dustin Pedroia?
That's another moment of like, holy shit, what's my life, was when I was in the booth this past year, and like the continuation of like Jared's ERA and all that. And I forget who they were playing, but it was already a thing. It was an established thing by that point that when I'm in the booth, the Red Sox gave up runs, and the Red Sox gave up like 2 home runs or whatever it is. And I get a text from Dustin Pedroia being like, what the fuck, bro? Get out of the booth. Like, he's watching the game, like hearing that I'm a jinx and being like, get out of there, dude. And it's
that
like Dustin Pedroia, like that is, I mean, obviously like the 04 guys, Pedro, Manny, Ortiz, but like Pedroia is my guy. Like if you look at, by the time Pedroia got called up, if you look at pictures of me, whatever Pedroia's like facial hair was, that's what I had. Like if he had a beard, I had a beard. If he had a goatee, I had a goatee. If it was a longer goatee, I had a longer goatee. Like whatever he did, when he was wearing the fighting necklaces, I would get the fighting necklaces. Whatever he did, I was doing. Like that was my dude. Like I told him before, I was like, I know that this is not something that like you should be proud of or anyone should be proud of, but like I started dipping because you dipped. I was like, I know that. I was like, obviously, like I was like, I did it because I saw you do it. But that was my guy. So for him to have that moment of like, dude, Dustin, like this is so cool. Like Dustin Pedroia is telling me to get the fuck off TV.
but that's all I want in life.
Yeah.
Getting the knee surgery, I thought was carrying it too far. I thought
I got the knee surgery in 2019.
Like,
I was like, you know what?
Was a bit much.
It was a unity thing. It was more to be like, you know what? Because by then we knew each other. By then, 2019, was the beginning of our relationship. I remember he was with the team in Colorado. I don't remember why, but he was there in Denver. And I just remember talking to him outside of the Red Sox clubhouse at Coors. And then right after that, I went to the local hospital and I was like, you guys, I don't know what you guys are going to do, but you guys need to operate on my knees. And they're like, what's wrong with them? I was like, I don't know, dude.
They're not enough like Dustin's. That's what's wrong with them.
Yeah. I was like, you got to get in there and
this just hit me out of nowhere. And now I get it. I totally forgot we are still recording a podcast. No, I really just, and that's a tribute to you guys. I'm just sitting here shooting the breeze with you guys. I was like, I looked up, I just happened to notice the recording thing. I was like, wow, we're still doing a podcast. Now I know why they're so damn long.
Yeah. I mean, we do, I without fail, even when we try not to, we can't help but do 2 hours. It's just what we do.
Yeah.
We said during the offseason, we were going to try to stick to 1 hour. 1 hour in and out. You don't have to think twice. Every single episode so far has been a minimum 2.
At least
the good thing is we got a place up in Maine. When we go up, it's like a 3-hour drive. And that is when I listen to you guys most of the time. It takes most of the drive. It's great.
Yeah. We're like that. So this is how fucked up I am. I didn't realize how many people listen while they're driving.
Right.
Because like yesterday when everyone was doing like their Spotify, like, oh, you're my top podcast, this and that. A lot of people were like, man, like spent 30,000 minutes listening to you guys. Like you guys have made the drives like so much shorter. And obviously if you're a listener, you're familiar that we have the soundboard. So I was going to add police sirens to the sound.
Oh, I like it. Right. Right.
Just
like brakes screeching. So somebody thinks they're about to get rear-ended.
Yeah, but I mean, if people are driving late at night, like maybe you're falling asleep at the wheel, this could save lives, TC.
That's right. Thank you for your service. What you guys are doing is God's work. It is true though. You got to listen to talk radio or a podcast late at night because if you listen to music, you doze off.
Right. Yeah, I mean, people might doze off listening to the podcast, but not if I just.
But I didn't realize when you said 30,000 minutes, that's like 2 podcasts. That's what I did.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's like
you're right. Yeah. Thanks for listening to 30,000 minutes. We're really appreciative of the 3 episodes you listened to. That's it. I'm sure your family is getting concerned.
Yeah, at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, we're having sushi, so it's not like it's going to get cold. We're good.
Okay.
We're good.
All right.
We're good.
I've only had sushi one time. I would like to explore the sushi world.
You guys are anti-sushi?
Super. I puked the first time I had it.
Probably, but you don't get it at a gas station.
I didn't. It was this nice place at Legacy. I thought the surface of it, the texture was going to be better. It was slimy. It was weird. It didn't slide down my throat well.
Yeah, you got to start. You got to go beginners. You got to go rolls and stuff to begin. You got to ease into it.
Bake it or put it in like a frying pan or something.
No, you don't
give it a little crisp.
No, deep fried sushi is not a thing.
Yeah,
Tyler
probably ate like the trashiest sushi that is on the market. So we'll have a sushi night one night, maybe this because TC's up in like how far into Maine is that?
It's up in the mountains, like on the west. It's like I don't know. It's almost 2 hours up from the border, hour and a half.
You and Coley, like why? Like your livelihoods are here, and you guys are just buried up in the mountains of Maine.
It's how I get away from it. Look at the mountains. Go out on the boat in the summer. It's great.
I mean, I'm a sucker for a boat, so I mean,
I always thought I'd be a beach guy. I thought it, but I'm a lake guy. I don't know.
Yeah, I love lakes.
No sharks. There's no sharks in the lake.
Yeah. The water freaks me out. I mean, I'll never even go in a lake. I'll get into like a canoe or like a boat or something.
You don't go in the water?
I'll never swim in a body of water that has living things in it ever again.
Will you put your feet in it?
No.
Coward.
That's weird.
Coward.
Hey, when you get sucked under by a lake monster, then I'll be like, hey, TC pretty much told you not to do that, and here you are, messing around with the lake monsters.
Do you know what a lamprey is?
No.
I used to work in Vermont on Lake Champlain. Mm-hmm. Lampreys are these things that suck onto the side of a fish and just kind of suck it dead. And so you'll catch a fish, and there'll be these gross things sticking out of them.
Is it like an algae?
No. It's like almost an eel looking thing.
Oh,
and it's a massive bloodsucker.
It's like a massive. What are those things called?
Leech.
Yeah.
And so that always freaked me out, knowing that those things are in the water.
Those are like the amoeba things, right? They crawl in your head, and don't they kill you?
Yeah. There's
maybe
like bacteria.
I'm not going to swim.
That scares me about lakes.
Yeah, there's bacteria in water that could just eat your brain. What is it, like 85% of the ocean is unexplored? We just have no fucking idea. And
That's deep.
There's 400,000 diseases that are frozen inside the glaciers, and when they melt, they'll be released into the world.
That can't be true.
400,000?
Oh, yes. 400,000 different diseases that are also at the depths of the ocean. Like if you go all the way down to the unexplored parts of the ocean, there's just diseases down there that haven't hit the surface yet.
But you'll die before you get to the bottom.
Oh, yeah. You're not getting down there. Yeah. You can go down there and bring them back up somehow, maybe, but you're not like raw dog in the ocean.
See, these are the things I worried about. My thing at the near Earth objects, the meteorites and stuff that are going to get. That's the thing. That's the one thing that I remember. Like we were at spring training like 4 or 5 years ago, and this thing blew up over Russia. It was like some incoming thing, and they have all these massive telescopes now, right? They're aimed, and they were like, "Yeah, solar glare. We didn't see it." I was like, "Wait, what?" Like we got a blind spot?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's a blind spot in the galaxy?
I don't trust NASA. I don't think that they would, if a giant, like if Armageddon happened in real life, they're not telling us. There's no way they would tell us. People would freak out. It would be a bad scene down here on Earth. Like if we're going to get smoked by an asteroid, it's just happening because they're not going to be able to stop it. They're not going to tell. We won't know until it's here. That's it.
That's the beautiful part, though. You can spend that last 10, 15 minutes, if you do know, doing what you want. I turn on the 2007 World Series. I don't know what you guys would watch, but you go out the way you want to go out. You're hugging your family. I don't know, whatever people care
There would
about.
be so much carnage. Like people would be like racing to their family.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine if they told you like today that 3 months from today it's over?
Yeah.
An asteroid's coming.
Bad stuff would happen down here.
That's too much time. I want minutes, an hour maybe.
I want minutes.
I don't know that I want. Yeah, I think Jared's right. I just let it happen.
Yeah, just let it happen. I want to be in my. I want to be at Kowloon, just having some pork fried rice, enjoying a Mai Tai, and just have the asteroid come right through the fucking ceiling. I don't care. Just that's how I want to go.
I hope it's during a rain delay.
Yeah,
during a rain delay.
Yeah.
Behind you guys, you just see it coming slowly in towards the
fireball coming down.
God.
We have to put that shade up that we have that keeps the glare out of the studio.
Yeah, it's like, of course, we were up 2. 5 outs left.
We're 1 win away from getting out of last place. I had Shaughnessy ready on my Twitter. I was going to blast it.
Yeah.
Here comes the meteorite.
Terrible. All right, this went dark real quick. Yeah, it did. You know what? Let's put a pin in it here. We can pick this back up. We can do like intergalactic thoughts with TC somewhere down the line because it's the offseason. I mean, we're still in November technically. We got a few more months to go.
Winter, but all right. So you guys don't go to winter meetings.
No,
right?
That's
next week.
I have, but I'm not this year. No,
I'm a big winter meeting guy. I like the winter meetings.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too.
We do our coverage. We'll do stuff from and all that. But more often than not, nothing happens because it's not.
The last one I went to
like off. When was that? Which
2019. That was Cole. That was Rendon.
Yeah. Right.
Even last year for Red Sox fans, we got Yoshida, Chris Martin, and Kenley, didn't we? Over those 3 days.
You would know.
I remember in the middle of our winter meeting show at the Sports Hub, Yoshida signed, and that at the time, considering what the last couple of years had been,
San Diego. Yeah, Yoshida signed.
It was insane.
Yeah, the best one was the year when they got Sale. Right, it was Sale, Kimbrel, and was that JD? There was a hitter.
JD was like right in spring training.
Yeah, 2018.
Well, that's when they got it done. But the word came out way before that because remember it dragged forever.
Yeah,
fought over was it the wrist or something? I don't remember.
There was some sort of medical issue. Yeah,
but that was when Dombrowski was like, we need a starter, a closer, and a hitter. And like in 4 days, he got the 3. It's okay, we're done.
Yep.
See ya.
Yep.
That was
Thanks,
a pretty
Dave.
good Dombrowski. That was a pretty good Dombrowski with the bang, bang, bang right there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you meant to do that, but it sounded like Dave.
Sugar Daddy Dave. That's there.
So I like the winter meetings because you're sort of hanging in there and everybody's there and you wait, everybody for the teams are there and you just, even when nothing happens, it just sort of, it gets you fired up for baseball again. There's actually a little buzz in the air for a few days. Although last year we got back on Thursday. I took the red eye home Wednesday night, Thursday morning. We were at the Tradition at the Garden last year, and we're at the after party, and word came out that Xander had signed with San Diego.
That was a cigarette night.
Yeah, that was a rough night.
That night with everything with Yoshida and playing out Kenley, I remember the conversation. Oh, it's clear they're going over the luxury tax. At that time, you're getting it was the Pete Abe tweet. Everyone on the beat starting to push things in a direction. Oh, clearly they're about to get a deal done. Then I woke up to personal hell.
I was leaving the after party and my phone blew up and you could hear the audible groans. We had banners up above the Garden and you just hear a groan go through the entire place. And I remember I was on the way out. I had a car picking me up. I was on the way out and I paused. And there's the Tradition is put together by the 4 teams. So there's all kinds of, and I was like, nope. I just walked to the car, sat down and stared at my phone on the ride home. It's like, I'm not going back in that room.
No.
Because we'll be here all night.
No. We tried to end it on a positive note, but then we just went right back down to
it got
sad real quick again. Yeah.
That's what happens in hour 2.
Yeah.
Right?
In hour 2. Right. Yeah. Well, now that just means that you're going to have to come back for a positive resolution for this.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it in Fort Myers.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Let's go.
I don't know if I'm going to be there, but
what?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what my NESN future is.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I don't know. Don't know.
I don't either.
Yeah, I know. I know
my future. Hey, I'll give. You want a scoop?
Yeah,
this has not been reported anywhere. I signed an extension,
wait, hold on,
so I know my future.
Wait, hold on.
You're breaking
Play
news.
the right one.
Breaking news. Tom Caron has signed an extension with NESN. How many years?
I'm not at liberty to say.
5 years. A 5-year deal for Tom
Lifetime
Caron.
deal. Lifetime.
Yeah, it might be. I'm at that age now. A 1-year deal might be a lifetime deal. We don't know.
5 years, $3.5 million a year. Put that in your column, Chad Finn. Tom Caron's here to stay.
Reportedly.
Yeah, well,
but yes, I am here. I'm going to be here.
Well, congratulations.
So, there you go. Thank you.
Congratulations, Tom Caron.
See?
Well deserved. It was earned. It was earned. This is your second appearance in franchise history, first in name redacted history.
Right.
And this was in our series of interviews with Clark's Catch-Up Series MVP voters. You have now taken the torch as the person that lasted the longest.
Thanks. And the one who talked about the most dark, depressing things.
We hit every emotion. Whatever.
Yeah,
we
did.
Yeah.
I agree. I think we ran the gamut of emotions. I laughed. I cried.
Yeah.
It was better than Cats.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts, Tom Caron?
No. Again, thank you for helping us all survive our drives. Keep the ketchup flowing.
Of course.
Stay away from cats. Stay out of the water. I'm just sort of summarizing the entire podcast here in 30 seconds.
Prepare
I
for the
loved
asteroid.
you all when the asteroid hits. Just remember, I loved you all, and that's about it.
That's about it when the asteroid hits. Okay, all right. That's Tom Caron from NESN. Thank you so much, TC.
Thanks, guys. It's fun.
Buenas noches, amigos.